Welcome everyone to the monthly educational breakfast of Democrats of the Red Rocks. This is a hybrid meeting, so we have people watching us from home. And we have a huge crowd here. So huge. We have had to bring in lots of extra chairs. And they've told us perhaps at the community center we need to find a bigger room, which is amazing. This is all great. This is the way it should be. New faces, new friends, and it's so good to see so many new people here. How many have never been to a DORR breakfast before? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you for coming. Please stay in touch. If you're not a DORR member, please join, and then you will get the notices about when these breakfasts are happening. We do them once a month, the third Friday of every month. Before we get started, our mayor, Scott Javlo, would like to say a few words to us. So, Scott, you can please your way up here.
Well, that would be great. We have so many great people here. It's a little tighter than normal. So I just want to thank everyone here. First of all, the new people that come the first time. I don't.
Up front there.
Oh, I gotta be in the front. Okay.
Who are you?
Who am I? No. So. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming, of course, especially the new people. I am currently the mayor, and I will be the mayor for another 2 years. That I really want to say is I'll be the mayor for another 2 years because of DORR. And I was the mayor for the past 2 years because of DORR. I feel very strongly about that because of the boots on the ground and the dedication by all of you that were there, putting leaflets in people's doors and talking to your friends. Even before that, for 8 years, before that, I was a council member for 8 years because of DORR. The power that you all have working together is unmatched. And you should all know that. And the candidates here, I hope you all appreciate what DORR has done in the past and their reputation. And if you think it's good that I'm going to be the mayor for another 2 years, we have other council members here. Kathy and Holly also will be, hopefully, and I think Holly will be the vice mayor again. If I have anything to say about she will. But Kathy and Holly and Derek Fobb, all credit DORR. And then Nikki Check.
Yeah. Oh.
She is so overwhelmed by the support of DORR. And I fought harder for her in the past 2 months than I did for my own campaign, because this is a real hard worker. And I'm so happy. She'll be going to November. I feel she's going to obliterate her competition. So I don't want to hold up any more time, but thank you all for the hard work that you've done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Local results here were really terrific. Nikki Check won with 72%. 72%, which is pretty amazing. But as Scott said, the people that won for the city council and mayor, because they won in this primary last week, 2 weeks ago, they are elected. They are in. Not so with Nikki Check. She is running for the Board of Supervisors, Yavapai County, District 3. She now just won the primary. She now has a full bore race against the Republican woman named Lori Drake. And we are going to continue to do what we can. So don't think that Nikki Check's race is over. That's why if you still see signs outside for Nikki Check, that's why. It's not that she forgot to take them down. So the momentum here is unbelievable. This is just a small slice of what we're seeing. I heard that the Yavapai County Dems meeting last night set new records for what, 80?
We had 30 people in line and we're at like capacity. So we had to like expand the room. This was great. It was a lot of chaos for a moment and a little tough on the chair, but it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. The momentum between last month and this month is. We're all just kind of, but it's all good. It's all so good. I mean, there are Zoom calls almost every night with 50, 100,000 people. 100,000 people. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Volunteers are calling constantly. They want to come. They want to volunteer. They want lawn signs. We don't even have them yet, but we will. And Donald Trump is out there bumbling along, worried about the crowd size over policy. He's not concerned about policy. It's whose crowd was bigger. So given that contrast between Kamala and Tim Walz and what we saw at the rally last week in Phoenix, I mean, it was amazing. It is still staggering to me that this race is still considered to be close. Yeah. But we have to put this final nail in. People talk about November 5th. No, in 54 days on October 9th, which does happen to be my birthday, the ballots are going to be mailed. So we have 54 days before those ballots go out and people start filling them out. And so we have got to be boots on the ground. And we've got tons of ways for people to become involved. You'll hear about canvassing efforts in a little while from Tyler. But there's postcards and there's even talking to your friends, and there's canvassing and driving canvassers and anything you could do, phone banking, texting, helping with fundraisers. It all has to be done. So this is the time that we can't take our foot off the gas pedal. We have to just keep going. Tonight, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what's coming up. DORR's got a lot going on tonight at 5 p.m. We have a film club. It's on Zoom. You can find the link on our webpage. The film, we watch the films at home by ourselves and then get together to discuss them. The film tonight is called Bad Faith. It is about the rise of Christian nationalism in this country. It will send shivers down your spine. It's definitely worth watching. If you haven't seen it yet and want to join the discussion anyway, please do. So that is going to talk about the rise of Christian nationalism. It's sort of a companion piece to something we're doing on August the 29th. On August the 29th, we are at 5 p.m. sponsoring a Zoom call. We have gotten a speaker, August 29th. Yeah. A Zoom call. Zoom call. Yes. We've gotten a woman, the speaker her name is Andra Watkins. Some of you might be familiar with her. She has a blog called How Project 2025 Will Ruin Your Life. It will definitely ruin your life if it ever gets to see the light of day, which we're all hoping it won't happen. But we need to educate ourselves on Project 2025. And if you've only heard snippets about it, but don't really know what's in it, let me tell you, it is terrifying and it will take away freedoms. It will shut down, it will take away the Department of Education. So many things that we take for granted. It'll cut Social Security, Medicare, no abortion medications. It's just a nightmare. And so I invite you all to come on August the 29th, 5 o'clock on a Zoom call with Andra Watkins. So you'll see what's happening. She's terrific. How do you get on that? Go to the DORR website, Democrats of the Red Rocks, and we have links to everything on there. Another thing that you don't want to miss is our picnic, our candidate picnic. All these candidates and more will be at the DORR picnic. We've got all three candidates for the Corporation Commission will be there. Jonathan Nez will be there. We've got lots of candidates, local and not so local, and we're still working on getting some more big names, which will be awesome. It's going to can't make it, but he may send a surrogate. You never know. You never know. So, and Bill will talk to us about surrogates and people that we might even be able to get here. However, it's at the hub. It's indoors. We don't want to take chances with the weather. September the 15th, 1:30. Linda Scott is spearheading the picnic. we need RSVPs. Please come to the picnic. It'll be a lot of fun and we have fun just being together. So definitely.
And
do
there's a
that.
raffle.
And there's a
50-50
raffle. There's a 50-50 raffle. I mean, it can't be better. The last thing, two things that I wanted to mention, October the 14th. The ballots are mailed, as we said, on the 9th. The 14th, we're having a parade to the polls. We want to generate enthusiasm. We want people to see how cool it is to vote. So we're going to gather up at Posse Ground Park. We're going to decorate our cars. We're writing on the windows with stuff that will wash off easily. Flyers, streamers, flags, whatever. And we are going to form a caravan down to City Hall. We will put our ballots in the ballot drop box there. We will then proceed down to Cottonwood. We will meet people from Cottonwood halfway there at the, I forget what it's called.
I was thinking maybe the Belgrade Church, actually, the Conception
Oh,
Church on Belgrade.
Right, we'll
Figure that
organize
out. We'll
that,
let you
yeah.
know.
And then we will go to the county building and people can drop their ballots there too. But the purpose is to generate enthusiasm about voting, and it's going to be on October the 14th, which is a Monday. It is Indigenous Peoples' Day. So a lot of people will be off from work. We'll have tourists in town. Everybody's going to be wondering, what is this? And then they'll see the flags and it'll be terrific.
Did you have to get a permit?
We will call and let the police department. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Okay, today, poll observers, if you're interested in being a poll observer, which does not mean being there all day, it means 3 hours, sitting at one of the 3 polling places in Sedona, we can use poll observers now. And so, please contact the DORR office or talk to me or to Diana, our VP. We would love to have you. Okay, today's presentation is twofold. The first half, George Lee is going to introduce our Clean Slate for Democracy, who is running here in LD1 or the Arizona State Legislature. They will each speak and introduce themselves. Q&A will follow, and then I will come and introduce 2 of people who are new-ish to our community. And they are working with what's called Jumpstart, which used to be called the Coordinated Campaign. They're with essentially the Harris Walls campaign, and also working for Ruben Gallego. So what they have to say is very interesting too. So without further ado, I will introduce George Lee, a member of our board, and he can present LD1 candidates, Clean Slate for Democracy.
Thank you, Ellen. And again, it's overwhelming to see such a turnout. And just to footnote the documentary Bad Faith, I had read all about Christian nationalism. I didn't know anything until I saw the documentary. For example, Paul Weyrich is a name that has been around for 30 years in the background for all this. But to listen to him speak and to listen to how plausible he sounds, it's just enough to get everything going. And it's the whole enthusiasm that we're experiencing here today. The MAGA has had the enthusiasm for their constituent population, and it's so great to see everybody here. Talking about enthusiasm and being able to get people going, Clean Slate represents a whole concept of money should not be in politics. And our whole society is corrupted by that. So they are running with small contributions and a fund through the state. Jay Ruby is a theatrical background, resident here for 30 years. And has a lot to say. So without further ado, I will simply turn it over to Jay.
Thank you, George. I wanted to just respond to something Scott said. We so appreciate DORR. It's kind of like being a visiting team and coming to a home field. Like it's not a good analogy. It's like when the Pittsburgh Steelers used to play in Cleveland and all the Pittsburgh fans would show up in Cleveland, except we don't have a home team. Like I live in Prescott and it is, as I say, I'm not in an uphill battle. I'm in a vertical climb. It is true. I am a director, producer, and an actor, and I create festivals and performances that lead to joy, beauty, and reflection. And this is what I do to build community. And I'll step aside from my political self to say you can see that work in Sedona on the 20th of October at the Posse Grounds. I did a festival this summer. It got rained out. We're rescheduling it for the 20th of October. I am also a son of the American Revolution.
Oh, wow.
It's an interesting status to have. Like it goes back. I have deep roots in Pennsylvania, and I came to Arizona as a Rust Belt refugee 3 decades ago. And I came with what I call Appalachian values: participate, help others, and question authority.
Always.
And my favorite founding father, Benjamin Franklin, said it is the first responsibility of every citizen to question authority. Now, in Benjamin Franklin's time, that meant creating a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Because at that time we had a king, and it was one voice who said the direction of the nation. And that voice could, if you didn't agree with it, you were removed from power, or maybe lost your property, or were persecuted. Does that sound familiar? Someone who says you're either my enemy or my property. It was wise of the United States to question the authority of the monarchy and to rebel against the British. Now, today, I'm running to be your state representative because the Arizona State Legislature needs to be questioned. Schools, teachers, and students are not getting the support they deserve. Our water is in danger of being used for unsustainable growth. Rural hospitals. How many people here appreciate like rural hospitals? You don't get timely services. This is a problem. And when $1 million of taxpayer money goes for Legos, we're not getting our money's worth from the state legislature. When $15 million goes to private rodeo groups, when my city needs fire stations to keep our property insurance rates affordable, that means we're not getting our money's worth from the state legislature. When cities like Sedona have their hands tied by the state legislature and can't set their own policies for short-term rentals, that's a problem. When our rural management, or when our active management areas for water did not achieve mandated quarter-century safe yield, and there are no consequences to overpumping groundwater. These are problems that could be solved by the state legislature, and we are not getting our money's worth. And why? MAGA extremists. Because they do not invite broad citizen input. They don't ask questions, and they don't want you to ask questions. And they avoid meaningful conversations. And let's see, make no mistake, we are all in this election running against the tentacles of Trump. Huang Nguyen, Selena Bliss, and Mark Fincham have pledged loyalty to an aging criminal. Our absentee congressman dumped his leader to please an aging criminal. MAGA extremists want to dismantle democracy. And the weird thing is, they no longer even understand the pillars of fiscal responsibility. They don't even pretend to care. Don't spend money you don't have. And when you have public money, invest it for everyone's benefit. It's time to stop the dysfunction in Phoenix. And that begins with you. Asking your neighbors, asking your colleagues, asking your family to vote for people who question authority, people like myself, like Mike, like Marcia. It's time for you to ask your friends to support dialogue-driven candidates like Jonathan Nez or Dan Ellen Savage, who's running for judge here. This is a very important race. Our opponents, they voted to ban early voting. They defaulted to and supported an 1864 abortion law. Two of our opponents are proud to be oath keepers, Huang and Mark Fincham. One of them, Mark Fincham, marched. He was there, January 6th, marching with the insurrectionists. Wong signed off on a piece of paper supporting the slate of fake electors to disrupt the election. Now, with priorities like these, it is no surprise we are not getting meaningful legislation passed for water and housing in our state. With priorities like these, it should not be any surprise that our budget has got busted through voucher schemes, subsidizing wealthy parents to send privileged kids to private schools. And these are not moderate Republicans. They aren't even establishment conservatives. They are minions nodding yes to a wannabe divine king dawning. And that is not good. It's not good for Arizona. It's not good for our democracy. It's not good for the USA. And it is not good for you. But you can do something about it. You can join in the really positive action that's happening right now to make sure that Harris, Walz, Gallego, Nez, and the Clean Slate get the support they deserve to change the political direction of this country. And that means you can elect representatives and legislators that listen and have meaningful two-way conversations with the general public and with each other. As your state representative, I'll listen to you. I will protect your rights. And I will use our resources wisely because I will ask questions that challenge authority to help we, the people of Arizona, thrive. And I love asking questions, but I also love questions to be asked of me. So how much time? Do I have time for a question or two, or should we wait till the end?
Let's wait till the end.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to introduce Marcia Smith, who is my colleague for the House. Remember, you can vote for two people in Arizona for State House. Remember to vote for both of us. She is an attorney in the healthcare field with a deep passion for increasing care in rural communities. Please welcome Marcia Smith.
So this actually is my first DORR breakfast. But I have been a member of DORR for the last few years, and it is an organizational powerhouse, as Scott said. And it was so nice when I moved, my husband and I moved here, to find a Democratic group on the Red Rocks. And I quickly joined. I was a PC, I joined the neighborhood committee. You know, they are doing so many things, and it's great to have all of you here. And I'm going to also make a plug to become a member and a monthly donor, because they need the money, and you can see they're doing so much. So I live in the village of Oak Creek. Diana and I are neighbors, and just on the street from her. I'm wearing my Oak Creek Country Club because I'm a golfer. Diana's a dog walker. I'm a golfer. The dog walkers outnumber us. According to a survey, but you know, we all kind of live together. And yeah, I moved here with my husband 4 years ago because we believe Arizona is such a beautiful place, and we really enjoy all that it has to offer. And the other thing that attracted us was its commitment to individual rights, that they have that history of really supporting individual rights, which is an issue for us in this campaign. I'm a Navy veteran. My husband and I met in the Navy. We both served in the Naval Nuclear Propulsion Program. If you know the name Emma Rickover, that was a program he started to put nuclear power on board ships. And that component, the nuclear triad, the ballistic missile submarines, are why the U.S. is such a powerhouse in defense today, because because they're nuclear, they don't have to rise to the surface, which is when they are detected. So it's completely undetectable and means that the bad guys can't find them. I'm also a licensed attorney, and I have specialized in healthcare. My last full-time job was as the general counsel for a statewide Catholic healthcare system in Iowa. So I bring, excuse me, to this job that I'm campaigning for, you know, qualifications on how to govern, how to be a patriot, how to serve the people. So I grew up in Minneapolis. I'm the youngest of 11 children. Wow. Yeah. My mom was Ellen's size. She was a tiny baby. We lived in a working class Catholic neighborhood where big families like mine were very common. And I went to Catholic grade school and a Catholic high school. And I learned from the sisters how to be a good person and to care for others in my community. Our campaigns are about more than beating Donald Trump, defeating Carrie Lake again, and sending Eli Crane home to wherever he lives. We also are advocating for legislation that empowers human dignity, that ensures women have bodily autonomy to make decisions about whether they want to be pregnant, and ensures that people feel safe to be their authentic selves. And we know that women's bodily autonomy is under attack.
Yeah.
Soon after my husband and I were married, I had an ectopic pregnancy, and I would have died without timely medical intervention from a ruptured fallopian tube. And today, women are going to the hospital and the doctors are too afraid to terminate a pregnancy because their license is at risk. So many of you, I'm sure you saw the AP article. They reviewed the records of hospital ERs for the last 2 years since Roe was overturned, and found 100 cases of pregnant women coming to an ER who were either mistreated or negligently treated. They were sent home. Women with ectopic pregnancies, that is not a viable pregnancy. So we need to elect Kamala Harris, Jonathan Nez, Ruben Gallego, the Clean Slate to protect our bodily autonomy. As Jay mentioned, both of our opponents voted to keep the 1864 abortion ban. Why? We know it's not popular. We know it's not good policy. That would have outlawed abortions for any reason except the women's health. But again, we're finding out that is not really a workable solution, right? To say the woman her health is at risk doesn't mean she's not going to get the full treatment, because it's the doctors who are going to be penalized, and they're going to protect their license. So we know they don't want that policy, even though they are advocating for it, but they're afraid of their Christian nationalist base. And they didn't want to lose their primary or turn off their Christian nationalist base in the general. So it's important that we talk to our Republican and independent neighbors, friends about the importance of abortion rights. It's important that we pass the Arizona Abortion Access Act, which is certified this week with over 500 different. We're on the ballot as Proposition 139. We're going to hold for questions until.
That might be kept off the ballot.
No, it's on.
It's on.
Well, there's going to be lawsuits. Yeah, the people who don't want it on the ballot are fighting to keep it off, and they'll fight to the left because they're Christian nationalists, and they think they have the Supreme Court in the bag. The Arizona Supreme Court just overturned a lower court decision that said it's okay to describe this proposition as protecting unborn humans.
Yeah.
Rather than a fetus. It's misleading language, but the Arizona Supreme Court upheld the 1864 abortion ban. The Arizona Supreme Court allowed that misleading language, and they're hoping and praying that the Arizona Supreme Court will somehow find a reason to keep this ballot. And if they do, watch out.
Yeah.
Just watch, because we will go to the streets. My other priorities are advancing legislation to ensure we have access to affordable health care. Yavapai County does not have enough primary care practitioners to take care of all of us. I have experienced it. I know you have experienced it. I don't have a primary care practitioner. I have a nurse practitioner. She's qualified. I'm fine with that. But getting access to her, it's like my husband called for his annual checkup. You can either come September 18th at this time or January. It's hard to get in. we don't have enough. And there's things that the legislature can do to help us get access and get practitioners here. And when they come, those healthcare practitioners need affordable housing. We need to pass legislation to allow Sedona to regulate short-term rentals.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we can't do that. As Jay said, we need to make sure that you vote for two of us. There was a 2,000 vote differential between Jay and me. And 38% of the votes cast for Ruben Gallego in the primary, no, they did not vote for either of us. So please stress the importance of voting down the ballot. There's a card here that has this particular QR code is about the importance of the Corporation Commission, which you'll hear from at the DORR picnic. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Mike Fogel. This is the second time running. I did it in 2022. I presume that many of you voted for me at that point in time. And at that time, I was often asked, are you crazy or just really courageous in deciding to run? And it is people like you that I run into in breakfasts like today or potluck dinners like yesterday in Prescott, when people smiling and saying thank you to me for doing this and filling me with the energy now that many more are now saying, I think you have a great chance to win, that convinces me that I'm not crazy, nor am I that courageous. And that I am filled with that energy that you folks give me, and I'm very grateful for that. A quick comment before I get into my standard stump about 2025. By the way, my BA is in history. I taught history in high school. So I use a historian's mind in a lot of the ways in which I think. 2025 is going to put Christian nationalism into the White House. I'm going to take one step further and think about, I'll ask you to think of it in these terms. When I look at all of that, it's putting Jim Crow into the White House. That's what's happening.
That's right.
So we got to fight, obviously, against that. I've been really excited about the addition of Tim Walz into the national team. So we know him as a high school social studies teacher, a high school coach. He came from the Midwest, rural Midwest. He was the first supervisor in his school for the Gay Straight Alliance. He is a gun-owning hunter sportsman. Okay. And what's really exciting about all this, I just described myself. Every one of those details. Now, I'm more of a fisherman than I am a hunter, I have to admit to that. Okay. But I'm really, really, really turned on by that choice. I am currently on the school board in Chino Valley. I'm a retired educator. I also was a president of the local chapter of the Teachers Union. And the work that I did there, I am very, very proud of. Because during my term, I was able to get the highest level of participation in the AEA in the history of that school district. Now, it's a very, very conservative place. Tends to be anti-union. There must be some leadership skills and some ability to talk to other people and to have conversations that gave me that ability to achieve that particular achievement. So that's something I'm very proud of. I'm also on the Polera Health Board currently.
What is that?
That is a mental health, primarily a mental health agency that is primarily located in Prescott Valley, but is also on this side, making inroads here, competing as much as we can with Spectrum. But let me get on, please. It was in my youth that I really developed a strong value for the underdog, and that had everything to do with my family upbringing and also my early church teachings. I can remember early learning the golden rule, right? Love thy neighbor. And it had a strong impression on me. I've kept it all my life, and that's what I've worked toward. They also, at that particular time, I'll never forget that which you do to the least of my brothers, you do to me. Okay? The underdog. We got to look after our brothers and sisters. And then, because of my parents' influence, Martin Luther King Jr. was in our home a lot. And I remember early on his moral teaching that went something like this. Every person must decide whether they're going to walk in the light of creative altruism or the darkness of destructive selfishness. The essential question is, what are we doing for others? And as I look at the national landscape now and all the enthusiasm with the new team, okay, isn't this an apt description exactly of what our choices are right now? Either the darkness of the MAGA, okay, the MAGA form of authoritarianism, or on the other hand, the person who is walking in the light, the persons walking in the light, in my view, and will be the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris, and her
Yes.
13.
Yes.
Now, it's because of that new enthusiasm and what happened in the recent Republican primary, when Mark Fincham beat out Ken Bennett, that has caused our campaign to take a little bit of a pivot to more of a national perspective. We all know that Fincham is a Trump loyalist. Now, I come from a modest background, and I've always really identified and tried to represent common folk. Mark Fincham represents the combined forces of the billionaire class and also Christian national theocrats. These Republican extremists, believe me, are going to be coming after our wallets and our personal freedoms. Now, this is very, very personal to me. Trumpism is coming after my son's right to plan a family with his husband and to interfere with the growth of their family. It's unacceptable to me. It is personal to me because our campaign manager, who happens to be disabled, okay, according to Trump, she should just die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also personal to me because my running mate, Marcia, would not be standing here today if it wasn't for the fact that she was able to get timely health care at a very critical moment. Trumpism is coming after women like her. Let's be clear. Fincham is a MAGA extremist whose insanity has led to chaos wherever he has been. I'm reaching out now, and our campaign is reaching out now to moderate Republicans and independents to work to build a coalition along with Democrats that will elect Democrats like us and like others. Because if we don't, we're surrendering America to a dictatorship. The popular historian Heather Cox Richardson, in her recent book, Democracy Awakening, concludes that book by saying this: once again, we are at a time of testing. We can all relate to that, right? How it comes out rests, as it always has, in our hands, in our hands. And I appeal to all of you to work, spend a little bit of time supporting candidates, working on campaigns, just a little bit of time. And the synergy of that will continue the synergy that we've been experiencing since Kamala and Wallace have come onto the scene. We need to pull together and we need to flip the Arizona legislature from red to blue. We need to elect Jonathan Nez to the U.S. House of Representatives. We must deliver Ruben Gallego to the U.S. Senate. And then finally, we must deliver 11 electoral college votes for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So I thank you. I think we will take some time now for questions. And I think.
We also have signs and
Oh,
T-shirts.
right. So I'm wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Okay. So by the way, I have some T-shirts. I'm only smalls.
I brought some.
Oh, you brought some extras?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we have T-shirts. It was great for canvassers to wear them as you're out canvassing or, whatever other political activities you might get engaged with. Okay. And to give you an idea also, when I talk about this snap, the sort of how our campaign has made a pivot to more of a national message and perspective. This is the first item of our new marketing campaign that is really going to be in full force. It looks like the second week of September. Okay. All right. The choice, Democrats or dictatorship.
Very cool.
Right. You are going to see this on 3 billboards in Yavapai County. You are going to see campaign signs of this design that will pop up everywhere. Okay. And we're intentionally working to be provocative. Yes. So anyway, let's take questions.
Question about the my car, I just drove by. To me, it was Democrats.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like this at all. I think
Okay.
it's very difficult. I think the message is good, but I don't think it's this quickly going by does not send that message.
It's intended to look like a ballot. That's
Huh?
what the ballots look like. So either ballot or Democrats.
See that when you're driving by in a car.
Yeah.
You can't, all you see is that Democrats are dictators. That's what that says.
Yeah,
Yes,
it sort of looks like that.
Yes, and
I agree.
I makes me kind of sick to my stomach to do that.
Yeah,
So I want you to rethink that. I can see on the bulletin board, there's no or in here, and you couldn't have read that anyway if it wasn't a red or. So please take my suggestion and think about that.
Fix it.
Yeah, fix it.
Yeah.
Those conversations have been had. We've actually, that's been discussed inside the communications team.
Uh-huh.
And this is actually, when it's on a billboard and it's big, it is going to be seen as a ballot.
I can
So-
see it on a billboard. I'm just saying on a car.
Right, no, and the thing is, it's reiterating that we can potentially make more of these that have that on there, that have like a little red or something in there.
Thank you.
And not
Thanks.
everybody, I
Good
mean,
feedback.
we balloon tested it and there's a variety of perspectives on it.
My
Yeah.
guess is that 20 to 30% of the voters in this area are underneath the age of 40. Probably more percentage-wise. They're not going to get reached, I believe, by the old processes because they do nothing but get on their phone and do other things. What portion of what you're doing will reach them and how can we be involved in helping that?
You can follow us on social media.
Knock on some doors.
Campaign things that I passed out have our social media accounts. I think most of our advertising that for the primary was digital. So streaming and Facebook and other.
Can I just say, join a canvas, because we will target the voters that we're trying to reach before you get to that door. And when you get to that door, then you can talk individually. And that's the way we're going to win here in Arizona, is when we individually talk to our neighbors, go door to door, seek out our community
And
where
going
they
to-
are.
And going to the high school.
Can I answer this a little bit more? We're actually working with young people. Like, we have people who our campaign is paying, who are creating content and are actually doing outreach to their own community. So part of this, how many people in here actually have a relationship with a 25-year-old in Sedona? Raise your hand. Are you talking to them?
Absolutely.
Okay. good.
Can I also suggest
That's-
when you're out and about, talk to those store clerks and those servers and the person at the gas station, and just a quick mention, because it starts their minds thinking. Just be like, hey, are you voting for Clean Slate? Are you voting for Harris? And they'll be like, what's that? But you'll make them start looking it up.
I talked this very week with someone who's active in the Boosters Club for the high school about us getting into the high schools to do voter reg. And that's happening. It's in process.
I'm actually going to attend several sessions with the League of Women Voters. They're nonpartisan, but what they do is they go into the high schools. We're going to do something at Coconino Community College as well. They've invited us on the voter registration day. What ends up happening is they go into the government classes. They talk about civic responsibility, how the government works. And then everyone in the class that's eligible gets registered to vote.
So one thing, our opponents won't complete their survey because it asks about abortion rights. It asks about whether they support free and fair elections or they think, the election security. So even though they're nonpartisan, Republicans are afraid to answer their questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I filled that out. I think you guys did as well. So I would, if you could highlight that they're afraid to,
Well,
or to encourage them to read about the candidates.
Exactly. So that's basically, and I'm going to go to my first one next week. So I have no idea what the program looks like. We're meeting beforehand to be trained. I'm going to go in as an observer, and then Sally Caruso and I are going to do Red Rock High School. We're going to do Yavapai College. We'll table there, Coconino College, and then all the other high schools in Verde Valley, Camp Verde, up in Flagstaff are being covered.
And they have a vote 411 website about registration and information on campus.
Now, would you comment on how the Clean Slate experiment is working out compared financially to others who are not running as Clean Slate candidates?
Well, Nikki is a good example. So we have a lot more money than Nikki, although she was able to get it done.
You can compare that to different legislative races. There are 6 competitive districts in Arizona, 2, 4, 9, 13, 16, 17, 27. If you want to put money into a competitive race to flip the legislature, do it there. I think you're actually helping 4 or 2 here, right? 3.
We're helping 3.
Just 3 districts, but 2, 4, and 27. I don't.
4 and 27, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
No.
13.
13 and
4,
27.
13, and 27. Okay, yeah. We got about $70,000 together as a team in the primary, and we got about 90,000 in the general. That
People
is.
understand what that means running.
Yeah, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit here.
Yeah.
Arizona is an amazingly progressive state. That doesn't sound like it's a statement, but the Corporation Commission is one example. Clean elections are another. I think we're one of 3 states in the country where you can be publicly funded. You have to get a given number of people from your district who give you $5 for each candidate. You cross that threshold, you get your petitions, and you agree to not take money from PACs, corporations, unions, or political parties. And then you have public money. What our team does, the Clean Slate for Democracy, is we put all our money together. We have one campaign manager, one website, we do ads together. So this allows us to kind of like pull a bigger punch as a team. I've been working with other groups to do this model, like LD10 is doing this model. Some people are doing it solo. LD15 has a couple people. They are outraising some of the districts that are competitive, or I should say, competitive districts are not raising as much money as clean election candidates are getting. Now, the thing is, you have some limits around independent expenditures. There's some other issues with being a clean election candidate that in a competitive district is maybe not such a good idea. But the model is spreading. And for me, it is a wonderful antidote to gerrymandering. Because what happens in a gerrymandered district is people like us don't have, like, you're not going to invest a bunch of money into a race that is really difficult. You're going to put your money on the smart race, right? But then you miss the energy and the enthusiasm that happens when you have state legislative candidate and it depresses turnout.
Right.
That's how gerrymandering works against democracy. But our progressive clean elections enable us to be out here and advocate and ask Chris Mays about the impact of the last election.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's hear it.
More.
Okay.
If they win,
Yeah,
when they win,
yes.
the certification of our votes are in peril. And I want to know, are we going to be certified?
Adrian Fontes is our Secretary of State. We have just heard a few months ago from the county recorders from Yavapai and Coconino. Coconino's is Democrat, Yavapai's is Republican, but they are all totally devoted to keeping the process above board and clean. And I believe, having worked in the polls, Sue's worked there year after year, I believe they will be certified and we will move on from there.
I don't have any fake people going into.
You know what? We can't project,
They're trying to do that.
you can't project the future. However, the election process is clean, and I think people's eyes are focused on it because of the alerts that people like Rachel Maddow have been putting out.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. That's what I'm saying.
If we get a good voter turnout, that won't matter.
Right.
If we get, I'm thinking 60%. If we get 60%, they can't challenge. There's no way. They will look like fools and they won't do it. If it's 1%, you're gonna see all kinds of games. That's why our.
Well, let me just mention one other thing.
Yeah.
And because we need to get on. I want to thank our panel very much. There's a chair here. These guys I'm very impressed. Every time I hear them, and I've heard them a few times, they're really good, solid candidates. And the fact that they're running in such an uphill or a vertical race, it's really, they really need to be commended.
So
Really awesome.
could I just take a minute more
Uh-huh.
to comment on what you just said? The political winds in Arizona are changing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you're sensing that. Okay. Kamala right now is about 3 points ahead of Trump in Arizona. There is a Arizona Republicans for Harris organization that is going like this.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, led by Mayor Giles in Mesa, who has said morals, ethics, and character matter. Okay, now there are plenty of people in Yavapai County where I know they have the same belief system. Character, morals, and ethics, okay, matter. And so we're out there asking all these people in Yavapai County who are ruby red, hey, this is a Rusty Bowers moment.
Yeah.
Rusty Bowers.
Okay. Do you have the guts to do the right thing? You all are very familiar with morals, ethics, and character. Mitt Romney and Jeff Flake, Republicans, will not vote for Fincham. In talking to Ken Bennett recently, he has said publicly, I am not voting for Fincham. Okay. Now, he won't endorse our campaign at all. That's going a bit too far for him. He's not quite of the Rusty Bowers class. Okay, maybe. But he also said, I believe 10,000 of my supporters will not vote for Fincham. So where do they go? They either stay home, don't write in anything, or we try to pull them in. And so that's what we're trying to do. We have Republicans right now that are working behind the scenes to try to get us in front of those very people.
Good.
Okay?
That gets.
We have connections in those various communities. And when I state the case, the political winds of Arizona are changing. You know, they're hearing, they're listening a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So, at any rate,
Thank you.
All right.
I want to be a little more encouraged.
These guys are moving up. There is a race that we should all be aware of. We can't vote in this race. It's in Maricopa County, but we can contribute money to the race. You know, you've heard of Stephen Richter. He is a Maricopa County recorder. Very, very important position. Stephen Richter was not re-elected in the past primary. He was defeated by an election denier named Justin Heath. And having an election denier as head of county, the county recorder in Maricopa County is huge. We do not want that guy to be elected. His opponent is named Tim Stringham. Tim Stringham will be with us for one of our upcoming DORR breakfasts. We need to remember his name, and we need to, well, all we can do is support him financially, because if Maricopa County gets taken over by a Republican like him, an election denier, that is a problem. Okay, moving on. We've got two people here today who are newish to our community. Dylan Baca is the Northern Arizona Regional Political Director. So he's, well, he'll describe what he does. He's not a door knocker. He does other stuff. Tyler Rippeteau, who has left his family in Boulder, Colorado, his wife and 2 kids, to come here and be stationed in Arizona to work for this race. He is stationed here in Sedona. He's doing a great job with us, and he is going to be leading canvases and engaging more people into our movement here, because as we all know, as Tim Walls said, we're preaching to the choir here, but we now need to make the choir sing. We need to amplify, because these guys telling us what they're going to do is one thing. We have to spread the word. So these people are here. Dylan is stationed and headquartered and living in Flagstaff, and Tyler is bouncing around thanks to the courtesy and kindness of people in Sedona who are taking him in and letting him stay in their homes while he's doing his work here. So first, let's hear from Dylan. You tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and then we'll hear from Tyler, who is our local guy now.
Thank you, Ellen. So giving a politician a microphone is like giving a rope to a cowboy. But I will cut back. Well, my name is Dylan Baca. I'm a citizen of the Navajo Nation, White Mountain Apache tribe. I grew up in Northeast Arizona, so a place called Pine Top. So I'm a local of Arizona, know the area well, know the northern region well. But I have 2 job titles. I'm the Northern Region Political Director and the Native American Political Director for the Harris campaign. So what does that encompass? I would say a lot. It's everything north of the great state of Maricopa. And 22 tribes involved within all of that as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but my job is to manage the political and stakeholder relationships that the Harris campaign has within the state of Arizona. So my job is to directly work with your mayors, your city council members, your state legislators, your tribal leaders, and then community stakeholders like Ellen, DORR, Coconino County Democrats, those types of individuals. And then involved further within that is some of the events that we do. So I think some of you got to go to one of our events that we held in Phoenix last Friday, the rally. My team worked very hard on putting all of that together. And we got over 15,000 people to attend, with many more that were unable to do so. We'll definitely be having another one of those at some point. But we work to engage communities at the local levels. I think the best way to put it is this race is going to be one on the margins, and it's to be able to focus on the margins where we need to be. So I'll be in and out of communities and working with you and supporting what you would like to see from our end on the Harris side. But yeah, if you want to do questions?
Sure.
Do you have any questions?
Do you have a staff?
Do I have a staff? We have a political staff, yes. And then I'll be getting 2 interns here shortly. So I have people helping.
Tell us a little bit about, are you working on the res?
Yes.
So we're very, obviously, very interested in the NES race as well. And interested in, is there things that DORR can be doing that would be helpful to getting the vote out?
Yes. So tribal nations are one of our main focuses. So you have at least 150,000 shirred up Democratic votes on the Navajo Nation, and it's increasing that margin that needs to happen. So how do we do that? Well, there's a couple larger events that happen. So like the Navajo Nation Fair and Rodeo. So that'll be the September 7th parade. We'll be out in force, and if you'd like to join us, please do so. But we'll be going through Window Rock on that parade. It's Hillary Clinton was in that parade in the 90s. It's kind of a quintessential one to be in. So participating within those things, I was up on Navajo for the Code Talkers Day celebration the other day. So we like to really stay involved in making sure that we're aware of what's going on and being a part of their community while not and forcing ourselves upon the community, if that makes sense. So our tribal program for organizing is just starting to ramp up, but we're happy to keep you in the loop on what's going on there.
If there's anything that we try to be sensitive about that, and if there's things that we can do, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a question back here.
Yeah, it's a similar question to Linda's. It's how do you feel like the Native Democrat groups or vote groups, are they making advances into the hinterlands and some of the areas of the Indian Nation that have not been very reachable in the past?
Yeah.
By what we're trying, what we are trying to do. I just wonder if there's like the coordinates, has that been helping? What's been really helping, and what can we, like Linda said, what more can we do?
Great question. And I think one of my favorite organizations within Arizona in regard to the Native American portfolio is Northeast Arizona Democrats with Lauren Marshall and Missa Foy. They do great work. They are all over Hopi, White Mountain, and Navajo Nation working to turn out the vote. So they've held tabling events at flea markets. They are door knocking in very rural areas where you wouldn't expect anybody to be door knocking in the first place. And those things have been helpful, but they've also become community members, which has been the important aspect. People have seen them, recognize them, and understand that they are part of the fold and trusted in that sense. So when they show up at a community dinner, or they are tabling in Ganado or Kayenta or whatnot, they are recognized by the community and are able to kind of build that out. But definitely them. We're relying a lot on them. Yeah.
Well, I would suspect that if the Republicans do try to challenge voter registration, they would definitely want to try and throw out the votes from your areas because they would think that the challenge would be more effective there. How are you legitimatizing as best possible the registration process so that it'll stand up later on? It's important. It's very important because that's 15,000 to 20,000 votes. If they can mess with those, that's the difference.
Right. Absolutely. I would say, so I'll harp again, there's a couple organizations, the Arizona Native Vote, Northeast Arizona Democrats, they do a great job of doing voter registration work. And our job on the campaign side, we have a great voter protection team that is making sure that our county chairs are filled in, our recorder's office are filled in, that we're getting poll observers, poll watchers, that we're doing all of the necessary steps to make sure that we legitimize every ballot we can.
In our community, I live in the village of Oak Creek. I'd like to have a Jonathan Nez poster or something to put in the front, or, you know, we have other candidates that I see, Fitchum and the rest. Oh, yeah, yay.
More of our signs are out front.
Okay, definitely want one.
Can you refresh my memory about something that Coconino has, that they go onto the reservation, help people register? Is it a van? I can't remember. And you know what we can do to help on the reservation to retrieve all of the early ballots or get people to the polls.
So one thing that Coconino Dems are doing is they are going to do a candidate tour of the Navajo Nation on the Coconino County side of it, and making sure that they're introducing candidates to the nation itself. They're making sure that they're aware of how to register to vote, polling locations, all of those things. So that process is happening, and they are getting more involved within that. It's going to definitely require the help of your Navajo County, your Apache County, and then your Coconino County chairs to support all that.
Can I bring up a point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, just for the group, Sally and Toby and I have actually participated in Native voter postcarding.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just finished my second round, which means I get to then be trained on their Cardzilla program. And I've sent stuff to Kayenta, to White River. I got another batch today. You get about 25 in those first batches. After you do a couple of them, then you can download a bulk load. So I'm working with Toby for Indivisible so that we can get a bunch of those addresses, because that's the most effective way, rather than canvassing, to get those people to contact their local organizers. So there's a phone number, there's a name. It's very simple postcard, but it's extremely effective. They get like 85% return on that postcarding. So if anybody wants to help us with that, we're starting up a program for the Native, and it's with the Northeast Arizona Democrats.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to our organizers, and if you have any questions, feel free to find me at the end. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Introduce Curtis.
Sure, absolutely. Do you want to, this is my boss. This is Curtis Bitterman, and he's our regional organizing director for Northern Arizona, based in Flagstaff. And I'll let him speak for himself here.
Sure. Yeah. So my area is very similar to Dylan's, just on the organizing side of things. So that means direct voter contact with the hope of voter turnout on November 5th. And we're doing this all across the region, from Apache County all the way out to Mojave and La Paz County, and places like Havasu and Bullhead City. And so I have a team of 7. Tyler is one of them. And so we're working on that voter contact through canvassing, through phone banking. That's our bread and butter. That's what we do, as well as hosting a variety of other community events and working with local organizations like DORR, like County Dems, to kind of host and collaborate on events and things like that, making sure that we're all a one team and not a separate team. So with that, I'll just give it over to Tyler. He can kind of briefly talk about the work he's been doing here in Sedona and Cottonwood as well. So over to Tyler.
My name is Tyler Rippeteau, and as Ellen mentioned earlier, I do have a family back home in Boulder, Colorado, where I also co-founded and ran a small beer distribution company out of Boulder, and then checked some boxes on a form one day and ended up here. But before I get into that, I do want to just acknowledge Sally Caruso in the back here. She's been hosting me. I'm giving it a little break for a few weeks, but probably returning. And I couldn't have done this, and I couldn't have gotten myself established here without Sally's generosity and friendship, really. So I appreciate it, Sally. Thank you. And thank you for giving her a round of applause. So yeah, those boxes I checked. I applied for a job with the Biden, at the time, the Biden-Harris campaign. And on the form they have you fill out, they ask you, what other states outside of Colorado would you be interested in living in? And so I'd lived in 3 other states, and I checked those boxes. And I'd spent some time here working in Arizona in the past. And being a native Chicagoan, I come down for spring training in Mesa so I was probably more familiar with this state than any other I've lived in. So I thought, and I love the politics, the direction the politics are heading here. I shouldn't say I love the politics here, but the direction they're going here. And I thought, yeah, what the heck? I did not think just checking that little box was going to lead me on this adventure. But a few weeks later, Curtis gave me a call and said, we need your help down here. And so here I am. And I'm the field organizer here in Sedona. I'm also doing some work in Cottonwood. I don't see a lot where Llama went, but okay. And we're going to be doing a little bit of work in Camp Verde coming up soon as well. So the thing that I'm here to talk about and to encourage you to get involved with the most is canvassing, is knocking on doors. And it's hard. But Dennis asked a great question earlier about how we can reach young people. When I'm doing phone banking, as Curtis can attest, I'll occasionally blurt out, I got a 29-year-old to answer the phone. Are they going to join us? No, but they answer the phone. At the doors, I have been able to reach that under 40 generation and have meaningful conversation with those folks. And move them from, I haven't really been thinking about it to, yeah, you're right. I do need to get involved. And so that's the most effective thing we can do. And it's hot and it's early in the morning sometimes. And we're doing those things, but it's so helpful. And I can help you learn how to do it if you've never done it before. I can give you support if you're a pro. And then we've got some great lists that Curtis cuts for, great turfs that Curtis cuts for us here. So I have some commit to vote cards over here, which I'd strongly encourage you all to fill out before you leave. And I can pass some of those out if you'd like me to, or if you'd like me to, Ellen, before we go. But that'll allow us to get in touch with you and reach out if I haven't already directly spoken to you or left you a voicemail or at least called you and hung up on your answering machine. So
You pass some of those out.
Sure. Yep, absolutely.
What's your phone number?
Oh, great question. 480, I'll hand you this, 550 1041. And I'll let some of those go around, but we're doing canvases from here through the election pretty much every Saturday and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and then again at noon. And we're at the moment doing a little bit of a rotation between Sedona, Cottonwood, and we've got a big one signed up, or a big one for tomorrow, ready to go in Cottonwood. And then, like I mentioned, I'll be doing Camp Verde. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think 2 weeks from now for one of those canvases as well. But we're also providing some opportunities to get involved with some phone banking and that type of voter outreach, and then some other events. Toby, who just grabbed some CTV cards from me, I know she'll be joining me this Wednesday. We're working on getting a postcard writing event set up here in Sedona. We're working on the final details, but that'll be Wednesday of the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, the 21st of August. So I hope some of you can join us for that as well. And then the one last thing I want to say is I'm here because I've got a 6 and a 4-year-old, and Mike, I don't know where Mike went, but there's Mike. Mike alluded to it before. My wife had some complications in her pregnancy with our 4-year-old, and she has some special needs, and I can't live with myself, not fighting for her and not fighting for my wife if she were to get pregnant again and have complications under a Christian nationalist agenda. We're hopefully veering away from, right? And we cannot become complacent at all. I'm happy I'm saying that right now, rather than we have to get motivated, but we cannot become complacent. We all have to work. And as I believe it was actually Scott mentioned, you folks in this room have a lot of power to help us win this thing up and down, from Harris Walls to the Clean Slate folks, to the local candidates here in Sedona as well. So please join me.
Get on board.
So if you fill out that card, I will have your information, and I promise you I will reach out to you. But also, somebody asked what my phone number is. I can give it out to you again.
Yep.
And it is 480-550-1041. And if anybody needs me to repeat that, you can come talk to me when we're done here. So yeah, that's all I've got. But thank you for
Tyler, I have a question from Zoom. Can you hear me?
We hear you, Shelley.
Okay, Kat Ginzel said Camp Verde is having their first Democrats organizing meeting on Saturday, August 31st from 1 to 3. And she asks Tyler if you could please join them.
Yes.
Okay.
Where?
Oh, all right, great. Thank you.
Tyler is also going to be working out of the DORR office.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Several days a week. So if you call the DORR office, we can put you in touch with him. Of course, if you come by the DORR office, you have postcards to write that will go to people who are not registered to vote. But if they do, they will be left leaning. We've handed out postcards like that before. And we've got a big, I think Toby's got 150 people now writing postcards. So, you know, we're all in this together. These guys are terrific, and they're here. They're focused on Harris Walls, Gallego, and we have to take this all the way down the ballot. Next month's program will showcase the candidates for the school board. And Nikki Chick will be here as well. So we'll have another great program for you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. Hold on, we've still got questions. Yes.
So this is something I would like to ask you to do, because in prior meetings, in prior elections, people were very afraid, didn't understand what it meant to go door to door or canvass. And
Okay.
it's so easy and it's safe. Remember years ago, people were very concerned about, oh, I don't want to go to a Republican's house. I don't,
Yeah.
they don't understand what the list are.
That's a really good point.
Just, it's, talk about how safe it is, how easy it is, and how fun it is working with people.
It's the most rewarding
It
part of
really
my
is.
job by a lot. And the list that we have are generally Democratic voters, independent voters who lean our way. I've run into a lot of them in Sedona who I believe got on the list, and maybe you can help me with this, but I believe because they've contributed to Democratic candidates in this cycle and who are excited. I've even spoken to a few Republicans who are supporting Harris, and those have been some of the most rewarding conversations. But 99% of the folks who answer the door are extraordinarily friendly. I've had one incident in Sedona where somebody got a door that was not friendly, and there was no real fallout from it. It was just, let's not knock on that door again. And we're not going to ask you to approach any door that you're uncomfortable with. If there's, if there's MAGA stuff all over the place and you get a little creeped out, just say, okay, you know what? I skipped that one today. That's okay. We're out there to have fun, have good, meaningful conversations. You don't have to know every issue. You can say, I don't know the answer to that. You just need to talk about your personal motivation for being involved in the campaign and helping us out. And Toby.
I just wanted to say, when I was I was like, I'm not going canvassing. I can do all this other stuff. And I went, and it was the most fun and it was the most welcoming thing I had ever experienced. People invited us in to see their T-shirts that they had. So I mean, if you want to go canvassing, it's fun. And somebody is the driver. Like Dusty, you've been a driver. So she waits in the car with the air conditioning. And then drives you to the next series of houses. So it's really easy. And you're with another person going to the door. So you have fun with that other person, you know, joking. You think they're home. You think, yeah, I see a light on and all of that. So I wanted to say that. And then I also wanted to say, if you wanted to join the postcard writing campaign too, you can put your name in my little book. And we might have something next week where we write postcards to Kamala and Tim. So that would be really fun at a restaurant with a little food. So, but I'm not gonna try and draw you in by that, but if you'd like to write postcards.
Get them food and they will come. Yeah.
How do we access the office and to volunteer at the office? I mean, how do you do that? You just want to try and walk in or, and what days?
What I would say is call before you come. We're changing, we're going to, in September, have someone there 5 days a week. Right now, we have somebody definitely Mondays, 11 to 3, Thursday, Friday, 11 to 3, and Saturday.
Ellen, I'm there Tuesdays and Wednesdays
So-
from 11 to 3.
So Tyler is subbing for those days, but we will have, so 11 to 3 would be your window. Just come in. We've got buttons, we've got signs. Susan asked for the lawn signs. We've got a ton of these and we expect the Harris ones to come in soon. So please do come.
Do we pay for those signs?
No.
If you want.
Yeah. That's a better answer.
I just want to say that I think it's time for T-shirts, wonderful bumper stickers and buttons. And two things. First of all, you don't have to ruin the color of your car. You can order magnetic bumper stickers, or I order from Amazon whole sheets. They're like $3 for I don't know how many sheets. And then you cut them down to the size that you need. The second is a lot of people say, I'm scared to do that. They'll, they'll scratch my car.
Yes.
I have bumper stickers on since Biden announced and since now for Harris, since we could get them. The worst I ever got was a thumbs down. And I get so many positives. I thought I'm all alone. Thank you for having that. I also hear I'm the only one in town who has a Harris or a bumper sticker on. So I think it's very important. And I also feel if somebody wants to do something to me, if it's a magnet one, they probably just rip it off and then I just put on another one. It's wonderful T-shirts and these guys have, we have T-shirts, so.
We have it all. We have to be loud and proud. That is doing something for the election. We ordered through Indivisible a couple of. We have Harris president. And we also have independent voters because DORR is going to go after the independents and not just DORR, the indivisible groups in town. We are going after those independents. It's all hands on deck. This is, I'm not exaggerating, a life and death situation. We've got to pull this out. Thank you to the Clean Slate for Democracy. We appreciate the three of you coming here today so much. You're excellent. I don't know, this year miracles can happen. So, I mean, a month ago, we were all in the depths of depression, talking about election anxiety, and here we are today, completely new. And thank you for you guys from Jumpstart and who are coordinated, helping us out. We appreciate you being here. And thanks to all of you, go out and do the job and don't be shy or embarrassed. Do it, speak out, sing. The choir has to sing.